Hey everyone. So I'm here with some, I think, sad news. For some people, this might be good news for you. You might feel conflicted about it. I feel pretty conflicted about it myself. The Acolyte has been canceled. We are not getting a season 2. Wah, wah, wah. But also, this was a mixed show. The show was very much a mixed bag. I still haven't done my full season review, but if you watched my episodes reviews as I went through the show week by week with you, this was a show that I was really interested in. It started off kind of mixed for me. I got more interested. I got a little less interested. And then at the end, I was really brought in by the end of it. So it's a show that I just would have loved to see some of these ideas that they had. I would love to see where they went. I would love to see this show grow and blossom more. With season 1, it felt like this show just wasn't really fully formed and it was still trying to figure out how to tell the story that it wanted to tell. The problem with The Acolyte in terms of why it was canceled, in case you're wondering, is that the viewership fell off pretty hard. So when this show started off, it was actually one of the top shows for Star Wars in terms of viewership. It started off really strong, but by episode 3, it fell out of the top 10 and it was not back in the top 10 until the end of the show, and even then it came in at the bottom of the top 10. It was the lowest viewed season finale of any Star Wars series, apparently. So our numbers were really strong at the beginning, even though people were like, no one's watching it, and I was like, but the numbers say. But by the end, yeah, not very many people were watching it because they'd lost the viewership, they'd lost the audience, possibly because it was polarizing, but also just I think because, like I said, it was kind of a mixed bag. Like there was some stuff there I wanted to see how it played out, but if you weren't interested in some of the things it was hinting at, then you were just out of there at the beginning because you were like, I don't care about any of this. The problem with the show is they didn't really make us care about a lot of the characters early on. You do kind of care about some of the characters, but it's not usually till later in this show, which is not good for keeping your viewers engaged and interested. What's really unfortunate about this show getting canceled so early without us getting the season 2 is the end of season 1 really hinted at a lot of cool, like, loose threads that it was setting seeds for like what would happen in season 2. So there's a lot of stuff that we'll never know what's going to happen. We're never going to know, what's happening with Kamir or the Stranger, if you prefer, and Osha. What will happen with them? I was wondering if Mother Coral was still somehow alive. She like magics away and you're like, what happened with that? What's going to happen with Yoda and Vernestra? I wanted to know what they were about to talk about and how much Yoda knew about what happened here. I think that could be interesting to explore. Darth Plagueis is in this. Leslie Headland said that she actually had plans and thoughts on Darth Plagueis all the way to like Palpatine and that connection and what was going on with that. So we could have had like all of that in here, but no more, because that's the end of The Acolyte. That's it. And it also feels unfortunate, not just because these are genuine threads that I would have liked to pull at a little bit more, but it's unfortunate because although I don't think this show is perfect by any means, and it definitely had some pretty big flaws, the bare bones of it, the ideas behind the series, the root of the story, I think is actually pretty good and very interesting. And I think it's a cool thing that they were trying to do, which is very different from a lot of the Star Wars stuff that we've gotten, but also lives in the same vein and in the same world really nicely, really smartly. However, the way this show was edited at times, the way the show was written at times, not good. Not where we need it to be. And I think it's unfortunate because a lot of the stuff that we built that was good, I mean, the fights in this were also really, really good. We're not going to see any more of that because we failed in certain areas. It's also interesting because a lot of people have also been talking about like what happened with Clone Wars. Like Clone Wars, when it initially started, if you don't know, it wasn't doing as well. And I actually never watched all of Clone Wars because I was one of the people that watched season 1 and I was like, this is boring to me. I was not here for it. But I've heard that the further along you go, the better Clone Wars kind of gets as it kind of figures out like what it's doing and settles in a bit. And that happened. We were able to get that because George Lucas was like, no, I have a story to tell. I'm committed, and just was like, I'm going to put the money there and like whatever. Like we're just going to keep going because I believe in it. But with this story, with The Acolyte, it's a little bit different, right? Because it's Headland coming to the studio, having this idea for a story, doing a pitch, and then you have to convince the studios with your season that you're worth more seasons. So it's not like she can just bankroll it. It's not like anyone can really bankroll it. It's you're beholden to, is this series worth what we paid for it? And the ultimate bottom line that Disney's going to be looking at in regards to this as a Star Wars property is it just ain't it. It just isn't making the money they needed to make to warrant what they spent. And it's not even about necessarily being greedy. It's like they did spend a lot of money on this show, you know, like it's a big budget show. So you can't really mess up with something like that, because if you do, it's like we just can't justify spending that money. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate too, because what I'm worried about is that Disney's going to take from this a lesson, and their lesson is going to be not that, you know, maybe we didn't really prepare this to be released. Maybe there are some things that could have been done better. Maybe it needed more polish. Maybe it needed more shine. Maybe we needed more revisions. Maybe we needed more people to take a look at it before we released it. I think they're going to be thinking, they could be thinking, oh, like this is what happens when we do something different. And I hope that's not what they're thinking, because not to say that High Republic has never been explored before, because this time period has been explored before. The High Republic is a cool time. We have talked about it in comics, in books, things like that, but we haven't really done a lot of live action stuff with High Republic. As far as I know, I think this might kind of be it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And, you know, I'm not as versed in the Star Wars video games, so if there's anything going on there that you feel like I would like to check out, let me know. I want to get more into the Star Wars video games myself. Haven't really played a lot of them. I want to do actually like a reaction to, I think there's like a bunch of Old Republic trailers and stuff. I want to just do reactions to all the cool Star Wars trailers, and then I want to go through and play some of those games, but I digress. With High Republic, we haven't gotten a lot of live action stuff, you know, and this was kind of what we got, and I think it's such a cool time period. The show got me interested in the time period. You know, I started reading the book, and I want to get into the comics more in High Republic and get to know these characters. I think it's a really cool time period where like anything can happen. It's very like, don't get attached to people because at any moment they could go, and this show, I think, at least did that part kind of well. I am sad because I'm worried that Disney is going to say, oh, this is what happens when we do High Republic. This is what happens when we do anything other than like Skywalker stuff. Like, please no, because, you know, we've gotten a lot of that, and, you know, we've been to Tatooine how many times? Look, Tatooine is a shithole. Let's not go there anymore. I love Tatooine, but I'm just like, you know, this was cool because it was trying to do something different. And sure, it didn't necessarily work out, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to do different things. And I'm worried that that will be the takeaway from this experiment from the Acolyte, and that would be unfortunate. However, on the other hand, you know, maybe this being canceled doesn't mean that it will end, and it does mean that, you know, maybe these threads could be picked up by some other people. Maybe we'll get to see these stories continued in the comics or in the books, or maybe there will be another live action show where someone tries to do this and like takes it on, and someone can convince them, like, you know, the problem isn't necessarily the time period or the story per se, and we can see more of these characters. I also just really liked a lot of these actors, and to see them in these roles was really cool, and I'm sad to think that, like, you know, we're probably not going to see any more of them if we don't get a season 2. That's probably the end of that, and it just kind of sucked. I mean, granted, they killed off, you know, my favorite character, Soul, but I don't know, it would also be cool to see like some Soul stuff, like some backstory stuff. Maybe we will still get that. Maybe that'll be somewhere else in the Star Wars universe and I can still check it out, but I hope that threads from here get picked up and explored, because there was a lot that was coming our way that I was very curious about, and now we may never get that. But hopefully I'm wrong and we do get some of that, because there were things here that I was curious about, even though, yeah, the way the series played out was kind of flawed. I think having that early flashback episode was a mistake in retrospect. We got to live with the choices we made, and so that means that I guess no season 2 for Acolyte. Honestly, kind of bummed about it. Let me know where you're at down in the comments. How do you feel about this? Do you feel it's comparable to anything, other things that have happened in Star Wars? Do you feel that you would have wanted a season 2? Are you happy that we're not getting a season 2? And how do you feel about kind of where this show was left and any of the threads? Do you want to see them resolved, or do you hope that they're all just forgotten? Let me know. I'm here for the Kamir Osha love story that I thought we were going to get, or sexy story. I don't know what we're going to get with that, but I was like, I'm curious. It's never going to happen now. I can still join the dark side, but not for the reasons this show made me want to. All right, that's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you down in the comments. And yeah, let's discuss Acolyte. Kind of a bummer. All right, see you next time. Until then, stay nerdy, friends.